Okay, this video will go along with the decimal word problems worksheet. So we're going to use the Polya steps. I've written them out here for the examples. You can follow that same format. You don't have to write this part every time. If you want to write the letter though, that's helpful when you do yours out. And I'll model that on one of them as well. So I'll do 3 examples. So, and you can pause the video at any time. I recommend that highly, just, kind of going along with me and then checking back. But you might want to just see the first one in full. So we have Janet received $201.25 and paid during a week. Jack earned $300.50. If Janet's hourly rate of pay was $5.75, so this needs updating, pretty old. How many hours did she work that week? So you have to think, what's going on in the problem? What are we trying to find? So what we're trying to find is how many hours did she work that week? And we are given info about Janet. So we're looking at Janet's thing. So Jack's stuff right here is a distractor. So we can get rid of that. We need to use the information about Janet. And if she got, so the first thing we're going to write is find the number, and you can use that little pound symbol to abbreviate, hours Janet worked. And then you can make a plan, write a number sentence. In this case, we don't really have much algebra going on here, but we're going to kind of take the total for the week. And then we're going to divide by the pay rate. And with that, we want to get the number of hours. Okay. So the total she received, so this is her weekly money. She got 201. And I actually should write this up here. Either spot. It kind of, there's overlap, but I'll put it up here in the right spot. So 201.25 divided by $5.75. Now, showing your work on this one doesn't mean doing that out long division. Showing your work would mean you're typing that into your calculator and you're writing it down so I can see it, right? So that's kind of here also. It overlaps. So I would just, you can pause and work this out with me, but 201.25 divided by 5.75 is 35 hours, okay? So I'm not quite done yet. I'm almost done, but does that make sense to the problem? Yeah, that's a normal week's work. I think she definitely needs a raise though. Cost of living increase there. So on the next one, on the last part here, D, reflect and report with context, meaning, and appropriate units of measure. So if you haven't watched the intro video on the Polya steps, you want to do that, or at least print them out and read through them and have them handy to help you with these pieces. But for this one, we would just say Janet worked 35 hours that week, something to that effect. Okay, doesn't have to be fancy, just make sure you have it. You could circle it or whatever, you don't have to, but just make sure you have the units on there as well. Okay, and we know that from this up here, it says hourly rate. All right, so actually I think I will leave number 2 for you to do as a practice problem. So this is an example. The number 2 has all the steps there, and You can read through. It might have some different operations going on with it, but you're going to do practice. So pause and go ahead and do that one for practice, and you'll check against the key. I'll also write it up while you're, paused, and you can check back on the video, or you can check back on the key that is posted, will be posted shortly. Okay, so hopefully that went okay. If you got it correct, you can just kind of look through and see if you have all the steps there. If not, then, I'll go through it real quickly. So she bought 100 lighting fixtures from a supplier at $24.39 each. So we just want to write out what we're trying to find is the total cost, and then number of items times cost of each item. Now this seems kind of like, oh, that's pretty basic. I just multiply those together. But what we're trying to do here is lay a foundation for when we have an algebraic setup and we have missing pieces. So this is trying to get you familiar with that layout. So you're learning a process here with something that you already have more of a handle on. So we could use a calculator, but we could just, move decimal 2 places right as well and get 2,439, and then write our sentence. The total cost of the order is $2,439. So you could write the word dollars or put your dollar symbol. Either would be fine. So these say, do the remaining problems for practice and label steps as you can, so you can go through and do those. I am going to actually do one more for you, though, down the bottom here, because it's a little bit different setup. So this one here, and if you want to just do it on your own, that's fine too. So this one here says Edgar is planning to subdivide a 15.5-acre piece of property. He estimates that 3 acres will be used for roads and wants to make individual lots of 0.25 acres. How many lots will he have to sell? So part of this is we want to find the number of lots. So we're going to write out part A, find number of lots. Okay, and then part B would be what are we given, so we can kind of map out a little picture here. Thinking about, here's this, I'll kind of draw it off to the side here. This is a kind of a large area here. We have 15.5 acres, but 3 of the acres he can't use for the lots. He's gonna use them for like roads and things like that. So that gets blocked out of it. The first thing we need to do is kind of cut that part off. So we would say total for lots would be 15.5 minus the 3 acres. So in that case, now we have 12.5 acres to divide up. Into lots. Okay, so that's kind of hashing out my plan. I'm making some phrases. I can also kind of put it into a number sentence there, right? And then from that, the 12.5 that I figured out, this kind of goes along with part C here as well. Oftentimes B and C go together, so it's a little hard to differentiate. I don't really care if you label them or not precisely. It's just to give you a guide to have it all there. And then you're going to divide that up by the size of the lots. So that's another kind of little tip there, is you would have total divided by size. That's how we get our number. So you might want to keep track of that little formula there. So we have our total is 12.5. Let me use a calculator for this one. Divided by 0.25, and I would get 50 lots. And does that make sense? Or part D, I can kind of think about that. He would have 50 lots to sell. Well, I think that makes sense. They're smaller than 1 acre, so he's definitely going to have more than 15, right? Even with cutting that 3 acres out for the roads and things like that. So I think that's a reasonable answer. If you accidentally kind of multiplied there, you would get 3.125, which I don't think that would make sense. That would be way too little lots. Okay, so then you could say he will have 50 lots to sell. And that would be your final answer. So go ahead and finish out the worksheet, and then you can check just the key in your Canvas. Have a great day. The other 2 worksheets will be covered in separate videos.